Hello and welcome, everyone. This is the 29th official episode of Eunuch Corner Club, and today we're going to be talking about science fiction. We had planned on having Wes Y. Levin on to talk about his new channel, Stream Idea, and 3 of 12 was going to be on as well, our little Borg, which is the co-host for the Monday night stream, Discordant Dragons. But something came up and Wes wasn't going to be able to be here today, so since it was rather last minute, I decided to go ahead and have a science fiction stream anyway. So today, my co-host, Kizza GT, is going to join me, and we are going to have a chat about various science fiction shows, and we're going to hopefully get some good feedback from the chat. And if there are any of you there in the chat that want to come on to talk about your favorite science fiction, as well as chew the fat with us about science fiction in general, let me know in the chat, and I'll consider bringing you on. That being said, we're going to bring on Kizza GT right now. All right, Kizza, you are live. How are you doing today, friend?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
So I know that you've lived in the UK your whole life, correct?
Yeah.
Is there any particular show that you like the most when it comes to science fiction?
Well, out of the list you mentioned earlier, the only one I watched a fair bit of on UK on the channel Dave was Red Dwarf, which starred Craig Charles.
Yeah, I've only seen maybe 8 episodes of that tops, but I really liked what I saw of it. I watched it a long time ago at somebody's house, and I remember liking it a lot. But that was before everything was extremely available on the internet. So speaking of things being extremely available on the internet, we will be looking through some shows and going through things in a rather logical order here. Once we get started, we're going to go through Star Trek from the earliest stuff to the most recent stuff and have a chat about it. What we're going to do first is we're going to put some 14s in the chat because I see a lot of people doing that, and I can't help but do it when I see it. So there we go with that. I'm going to put some 14 over there on DLive as well. And I'd like to remind everyone, since we are getting started, if you would like to put questions or comments to us today, yeah, no problem. If you'd like to put questions or comments for us to respond to, please use Entropy. And the Entropy link is in the description, but I will also be putting it in the chat here for everyone. So over on the left-hand side of Entropy is the question widget. You can type questions and comments there, and the best thing about it is they don't disappear as chat scrolls, and people over on Entropy can click it up and down to show if they think it's a good question or comment or not. So please, everyone, get used to using Entropy. It is excellent. So, and as usual, if you'd like to give me financial donations, I definitely appreciate the support since it's so hard for me to find work these days, which you can do via Cash App, PayPal, and Subscribestar. So now that the obligatory shill is out of the way, I'd like to say howdy to the people here in chat. We've got Bill, all -1 with us today. Howdy, Bill. Good to see you. We have the Alabastard, Western Resonance, Crow Minion, 6079 Smith. Hello, Scrubbalubs. We've got Watt Tyler. And Ragnar's here too. Howdy, Ragnar. I see Kizza's moderating in chat. We've got Ramblin' Rattlesnake from Don's crew. Good to see you too, friend. All right. So we've got, looks like about 25 watching already. That's good. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pop open. Let's see here. We're going to go to this view. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop open the... Boop, there we go. There's the browser that I had ready. So leaving Battlestar Galactica alone, let's go to Star Trek: The Original Series and talk about that first. Now, Kizza, are you very familiar with Star Trek: The Original Series?
I have a very basic grasp on the original Star Trek.
The original series came out in the late 60s, I'm pretty sure. It was at 67?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, because
66, 67, yeah.
Yeah, because the new generation came out, I believe it was in the mid-90s. I might be wrong.
No, next gen came out in the 80s. I think it came out in 86 because it came out.
Was it already that? Yeah.
I think they launched it on the 20th anniversary of the original. That's why it was 86. But we'll look into that here in a minute.
Sure thing, yeah.
The original series, I've seen all of, beginning to end, even the couple of episodes that are harder to find. I've seen it all, and I think it's okay. The thing that I thought was most groundbreaking about Star Trek: The Original Series was it analyzed things that were not really commonplace to talk about on television, which was the what the I guess you could say Western or Anglo morality would be like if we were able to take it to the stars. And they had questions around. I don't remember specifics because it's been, let's see, about 20 years since I've watched this show, but it began the Star Trek theme up until the modern era, of course, of questioning things, the particulars of our morality, how we should enforce morality. Uh, and I know that there's a lot of people that say it's too liberal, but in a lot of ways, I still think that it's good. I know that they push the more modern liberal agenda of removing race differences and that kind of thing, which I don't truck with. But there's still a lot of really good things, even going back to the original series in Star Trek, about when it's good or when it's good to act or when it's good to not act when you're trying to help others. And I think that that was a message that carried through pretty much all the Star Trek I care about was you don't want to be too good to people and give them too much because then that can subvert people's natural growth due to adversity and figuring things out themselves. But at the same time, you want to do what's right and you want to alleviate suffering and help people. And that was fairly evident in the original Star Trek series here. Now, you said you've not seen any of it, right?
No, not the original, no.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and move on from it. Somebody in chat's already saying he's dead, Jim. Yeah, that's where that comes from. Of course, old Dr. Bones.
Got them in.
All right. Let's move on to Next Generation here. Next Generation 87, it says, is when it started. Now, Kizza, I'm pretty sure that you have seen this one. Let's go ahead.
I once saw like a VHS tape of like a few episodes at my cousin's house many, many years ago. Yeah, the reason I thought it was 90s because I didn't think Patrick Stewart was bald at that time. So forgive me, everyone.
He's been bald a long time. So
yeah,
the Next Generation, like many people that aren't 70 years old, like many people, Next Generation was the one that I saw the most of when I was young. It was passively on TV a lot. People at my high school talked about it being on a lot. And I'm a Gen Xer, so I think I was just starting, I was at the end of elementary school and starting middle school when this was popular. And people were talking about it when I was young. It was a common thing people shared a lot. People had favorite characters. A lot of people were like, oh, the Dr. Crusher's so beautiful. And, oh, Data's so cool. I wish I could be like Data. It was very influential to pretty much everybody, whether you were cool or not, whether you were a jock or a band nerd or whatever you were. It seemed like people were talking about Star Trek, The Next Generation, in a big way. And it seemed to affect a lot of people. So I know that you're a touch younger than me, Kizza. When you were in school, was Star Trek a big thing? Did people in your school talk about it a lot, whether it be Voyager or Deep Space Nine or anything? Was it very big where you were?
There was like a niche group that did speak about it, but when I did watch a thing about speaking about the, I'm not sure if you heard, and I'm sure maybe a few people have heard in the chat, but the chap, the Nostalgia Critic, I remember he and I think it was Linkara were doing a thing where they were reviewing all the Star Trek movies. And I remember lots of people.
Now, who's that? I don't recognize that name. Who are you talking about?
The Nostalgia Critic and Linkara, Nostalgia Critics Group, which was with the glasses, and he specialized a lot in Star Trek and Power Rangers, if memory serves.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with those guys you're talking about. Was that a TV show?
Oh well, Nostalgia. Not quite. This is good. They're like they're like one of the early big YouTubers, like.
I got you. Okay.
He was known as.
All right. Well, go on.
Like the really early and so that I do remember a lot of people getting Star Trek stuff for that, but also I do remember watching a thing on Star Trek where people spoke about how Star Trek somewhat influenced like a lot of the future technologies that we have today, like stuff like smartphones, video calling, things like that sort of technology that we kind of today take for granted. I see someone in the chat remembers Nostalgia Critic and Linkara. But yeah, so
Well,
like I said, it was more of a niche thing at my school. I can understand if it.
I see Bill talking about the movies in chat. The Star Trek show and Star Trek movies
Yeah.
are a lot different. The movies were built to be more like movies, so the characters took more dramatic actions. They were more prone to rash behavior, more laissez-faire with application of violence and destruction. And sometimes the movies were just kind of bland. They didn't really do a lot. They were more like kind of like they try to just take an interesting idea for an episode and make a big movie out of it, so they just kind of fell flat and weren't very good. And something to keep in mind about lots of science fiction is oftentimes science fiction falls prey to serial television, where you have uninteresting episodes, filler episodes, and episodes that were written by people that were brought on to give them a chance that didn't really jibe with the rest of the series and all that. So the shows that we talk about today, I'm not an absolute diehard fan of any of them where I'm like, oh, this is the best thing ever and it can do no wrong. It's nothing like that. Nothing like that.
That's fair.
So
I mean, when it. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. I was going to segue to the next thing, but you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I have seen some of the Star Trek memes, and the most common one everyone talks about, I think, is from the second movie where you have that guy shouting Khan.
Yeah. Wrath of Khan was the second movie, and it was arguably the best movie. And some of the Next Generation movies are okay. I wouldn't say any of them are great, but in general, I'm not a big fan of any of the Star Trek movies. None of them.
That's fair, because I have heard from quite big Star Trek fans. I believe they say, now forgive me for anyone in the chat who's a huge Star Trek fan, I do apologize for if I make this error. They say that the odd-numbered movies are the bad ones, and the even-numbered movies tend to be the good ones.
I've never heard that, but I know that Khan is number 2, and it was pretty good. So.
Yeah. But yeah, because I think going back to Star Trek and Linkara, I think one of the movies, I think there was a. This is me thinking, right? I think one of them, there was a crossover between the original cast and the Next Generation cast. I think because there was reference to both casts at the same. They were both in one of the movies.
Yeah,
I can't remember which
Star
one.
Trek Generations. That movie.
That's Generations.
I forget that movie. I think was early '90s or mid '90s. But
okay, yeah, right, okay.
We're just flipping through some garbage Hollywood pictures here.
Right. Well, IMDb is the best place to go to if you want to look up anything about a movie.
Yeah, I like IMDb. I use it quite a bit to reference things and to look into stuff. Next Generation, in my opinion, is a really good introduction to what I consider to be what Star Trek is all about, which is Captain Picard is a man who is driven by principles of, in the modern era, what we would call a mix of libertarian values of the Non-Aggression Pact, classic liberal ideals of letting people with the best ideas and the quote-unquote market of ideas sort itself out, as well as the application of, I guess you would call it peaceful imperialism, sort of, because that's sort of like what the United Federation of Planets is, like a mix of a non-hostile empire and a loose confederation of different smaller empires, sort of. And you get a good.
Call it like?
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Would you call it like soft power?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because the Federation used hard power as well, because many of the species or races or whatever you want to call them in Star Trek are warlike or not driven by emotion. They're more driven by logic, like Klingons, like Vulcans and Romulans. Then the Klingons, of course, are violent. Then you've got ones that are driven by greed and market forces, like the Ferengi. And the Federation of Planets, it does what it can to use a mix of hard power and soft power to keep the peace and to stop things like genocide, the enslavement of races by others. The United Federation of Planets is sort of like an idealized Anglosphere taken to science fiction star-spanning levels. And so it's really fun. There are a lot of good stuff in the Next Generation, and it really paints a good picture, in my opinion, of what softer sci-fi is about, which is about morality and getting outside of your own head and thinking about bigger picture things, the application of spirituality and morality on a massive scale, and how it would interact with people who are a lot different from you. And that's a value that I realized early on from Star Trek was the people in our real world, talking about reality here, they come from quote unquote different worlds, and what might be moral and just to one group could be applied differently or rejected entirely by another group. And one needs to be careful when enforcing their morality to not cause wars and to create contention and violence just by thinking that, well, my morality is ubiquitous and applies to everyone of all stripes. So it's interesting. So I really got a lot out of The Next Generation when I was younger. So unless there's more for you to talk about this, we can move on to the next one.
I was just going to say, regarding the United Federation of Planets, did you say?
Yeah, the UFP. That was their...
Yeah, the UFP.
Yeah.
Would you say, in a sense, it's actually a much more effective and practical version of what we call the UN?
I don't know enough about the particulars of how the UN operates, like with conjunction to NATO, the United States, Israel, all the big power players of the Western world. That'll be more for whenever Wes actually starts his channel. He's going to do deep dives and discussions. Today, I just wanted to go through and talk about a bunch of the well-known science fiction series. And speaking of well-known science fiction series, we still have a few more to talk about with Star Trek here. Star Trek Voyager. I don't know. Do you know much about Voyager? It's got a female captain, Captain Janeway. Do you know much about it?
Is that the quote-unquote reboot?
No.
Okay, right. Sorry.
No, this is part of the canonical 7-year, 7-season Star Treks. This was the third installment, and it's pretty good. I've seen most of it, if not all of it. I watched it back when it came on in the 90s quite a bit, and I thought it was okay. I tend to like Next Generation better, but I just wondered if you'd seen this.
That's fair. Okay, I don't think I've watched it, but I do now. I know of it now. You've shown it in front of me.
Sure.
So I was thinking way too far ahead with the reboot.
Yeah, that's later in the aughts. That's called Enterprise, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah, sure thing, yeah.
Star Trek Voyager is about Captain Janeway. She's in I think it's a Voyager class vessel. That's why it's called Voyager. And in the Voyager, it was some kind of some kind of recon exploration vessel, and it gets sucked into a wormhole or goes through some kind of slipstream or some shit that they don't expect, and it gets sucked to a different part of the galaxy. It goes over to the Delta Quadrant, which, for people that don't know, if you look at the quote-unquote flat map of the Milky Way galaxy, you sort of put a cross through it, and the Alpha Quadrant is where Earth is. And so the United Federation of Planets and pretty much everything that takes place in any Star Trek is in the Alpha Quadrant just due to how big space is. And the Delta Quadrant is really far away. It's the next quadrant over to the right, and it's super duper far away. And even at maximum warp speed, I think they said that in one of the first or second episodes, it would take them like 75 years or some shit to get back if they just full steam ahead and just tried to warp back as fast as they could. So they were like, WTF, what do we do? So this was a fun series because it was them meeting new races, new civilizations, finding new enemies and new dangers that had never existed before in any of the Star Trek. And except for the Borg. They were in Enterprise a little bit. But the Borg, I think, started from the Delta Quadrant, but don't quote me on that. I'm just picking stuff from my brain. But Voyager was fun because it was sort of like them being in a survival environment. They want to get back home. They want to find out a way to even communicate back home to the United Federation of Planets. But they were stuck, and they had to make friends and troubleshoot to try to fix their vessel up and find out how to navigate and stuff. It was pretty fun. I don't remember if I watched all 7 seasons of it, but I watched quite a bit, so it was pretty fun.
Sure thing.
Let's see what chat has to say about this. Maybe chat will remember something about Voyager. Let's see what's going on with Entropy and DLive and stuff. Nobody's saying anything over on the other sites yet, so let's check YouTube chat. Let's see.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk going off. Yeah.
Voyager was Intrepid class. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Voyager was Intrepid class, says Dog4. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not a a super nerd when it comes to the terminology and stuff, but I do know that memory alpha. Kizza, you're going to have to mute yourself or stop us hearing you breathing because I hear you wheeze constantly. All right. The memory alpha is a really good site. It's like before there even were wikis, there was memory alpha. So going back into the golden age of the internet, people started putting together a Star Trek Bible, basically, so you could learn and reference everything in the shows and in the movies. That's called memory alpha. So I definitely recommend that if anybody wants to learn about stuff. And that's where I practiced memorizing several of the Ferengi's laws of acquisition, most of which I've forgotten already. But it's a good reference to look them up to refresh your memory. Okay, Dog of War says he's watched pretty much all of the core Star Trek. And and he says don't watch the modern stuff, it's bad. All right. So let's move on then. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I had up, which is my favorite, Deep Space Nine. Now, this one was the fourth one in the series. Kizza, have you seen any of Deep Space Nine? Do you even know what this one is?
I have heard of it, but I haven't watched it again because I'm a noob.
The reason I like this one the most... Oh, hey, Jared George. Good to see Jared here.
I was just about to say, Jared's here.
Good to see Jared here. Yeah, we the guests we had lined up today, Jared, didn't pan out, so we're just having fun talking about science fiction this week. So that's what we're doing today. Good luck working on your new music, Jared. You've been making excellent music. I look forward to what comes next. Deep Space Nine I like the most because it is almost entirely about space politics. The core of this show is a Cardassian deep space station called Deep Space Nine. And I forget the particulars of how it all gets started, but basically there's this race that is like a mix of Romulans and Klingons, and they're called the Cardassians. They're violent and quote unquote mean and all that. But they've enslaved a race called the Bajorans, and the Bajorans, there's a resistance to free them and all that. So you've got that good political element there. The Federation, the Cardassians aren't part of the Federation, I don't think. So there's beef there, and I forget exactly what leads to Starfleet having a presence on Deep Space Nine. I forget exactly, but it's probably something to do with studying a wormhole nearby. It could be joint owned and operated by the Cardassians and Starfleet. Something like that. I forget exactly. It's been forever since I've seen it. It's been since the 90s and the early aughts since I've watched it. But I liked this one because it had excellent character acting. They had dozens of really good character actors that played regular parts that would be on, a few times a season. Rene Auberjonois, or however you say that guy, he was this cool shapeshifter called Odo. Captain Sisko, that black guy you see in the middle there, he was a stoic, confident Starfleet research captain guy. You had a lot of Ferengi in this episode, and I love the Ferengi. They're near and dear to my heart. They're a good mix of fun, lovable rogue, dirty, underhanded mafia dealers, those kind of people. And it's all of those fun tropes mixed into a Star Trek, and it's just really fun. There's a lot of Ferengi in there. And there's just lots of really good interaction back and forth between the characters as they basically just have a lot of good political and personal drama, and it's just really fun. And it culminates in season 5, 6, and 7 with the arc known as the Dominion Wars. And when the Dominion War arc happens, one of my favorite character actors of all time, Jeffrey Combs, is the primary speaker for the Dominion, and he's in a bunch of episodes. So, oh, hey, Alfie, good to see you here. I see Alfie in chat. Hello, good to see you, friend.
Yeah, we've been chatting on Telegram privately. So
I think Alfie was the one that wanted to talk to me yesterday, but something came up and we didn't get to. So, hi to Alfie, good to see you here. We'll have a chat sometime soon, friend. All right, let's see. Oh, hey, European housewife. Good to see you here, too, today. We got all kinds of friends coming in to say howdy and listen to us talk about sci-fi today. So, Kizza, since you don't really have any experience with Deep Space Nine, do you want to move on to something else?
Sure, why not?
All right, let's we'll step now to the next bit of Star Trek I had open, which is Star Trek Enterprise. Now, Enterprise is one that didn't get a full 7 years. I don't even know if they plan to give it 7 seasons or not, because I don't know much about this one. I watched the first season back when it came out in 2001, and I thought it was okay. Scott Bakula, that's the guy that was what was that show called? Quantum Leap, where he was a guy that stuck in time and had to time jump to try to get back to his hometown or whatever. That was pretty fun science fiction. I liked Quantum Leap. And I was like, oh, hey, the Quantum Leap guy, he's going to be in a Star Trek. And I watched it and I was like, this is a little different. And the reason it was different is it's called Enterprise because this one is not chronological. It's not happening in the same timeline as the other shows. This one takes place back before the original series in the setting. And it's about the first Enterprise. It's about them in the early days of Starfleet and the Federation going out and having adventures and meeting some of the races for the first time. And it's okay. And Jeffrey Combs is a main character in this one, too. And he plays an Andorran, which has a lot of charm. I don't know much about the Andorrans because I didn't watch this series much, but I thought it was pretty good. Now, is this the one that you saw some of that you mentioned earlier, Kizza?
I was more thinking of like the reboot regarding the movies. What was it, like the J.J. Abrams movie, and then
those.
That's how they got.
Oh, you mean movies? Yeah. Now I saw.
Sorry. I don't. I apologize for that.
That's okay. It's fine. I don't have any movies lined up to talk about today. I was just going to do a television series, but I saw the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek, and my opinion of it was, this is not Star Trek at all, but it is a good-looking movie because J.J. makes movies that look good, and J.J. makes good-looking, fun, forgettable movies that are good to go pay $7 or $10 or whatever to see at the box office. And to me, it was exactly that. This is a fun action movie with some sci-fi paint on it, and they say Star Trek words. And I watched it, I had fun, and I forgot about it in typical J.J. Abrams fashion. So I don't really have anything negative to say about it other than I forgot it like every J.J. Abrams movie, and it wasn't really Star Trek to me. So.
That's fair. Like I said, I'm a complete noob, so I do apologize if you wanted someone. For those in chat who wanted someone vastly more knowledgeable.
Well, I'm probably a noob when it comes to some people in chat, and definitely I'm a noob when it comes to 3 of 12 and Wes. But I do like Star Trek a lot, and I've watched quite a bit of it, and it is one of the most memorable shows. And since I have terrible memory, that's actually a big vote of confidence in how good the shows were, the fact that I can remember so much about it at all. So let's go ahead and move away from Star Trek now. Because Star Trek, while good and of course meaningful to building what we know as modern science fiction, there is a show that I would like to talk about called Babylon 5. Who remembers Babylon 5? Anybody remember Babylon 5? I certainly do, because guess what? It's my favorite science fiction television show. My absolute favorite. Do we have any Babylon 5 fans here? Give me a B5 in chat if you love Babylon 5. And if you don't, I understand because there's plenty of solid criticisms about it. But I love Babylon 5. It's my favorite science fiction show. I have a big downloaded file of it that I've kept on an external hard drive for years. I have every episode. I've got all, 6 or 7 movies, including the one that didn't air properly. Like, I've got all of the Babylon 5, and I love it. I've watched it all 3 times. It is excellent. So, Babylon 5, Kizza, you said you haven't seen any of it?
No, not one bit.
Babylon 5 is a good mix of pretty much all of the standard science fiction tropes. You've got a bunch of different sentient species that have to live together and work together. It takes place on a station called Babylon 5, and Babylon 5 is where humans and other species, some that don't get along, some that do, they have to have political meetings there. They have to settle trade disputes there. It's a really excellent show. You've got a lot of, there's a good, you know how, I don't know about you, Kizza, but I like bad guy government, bad guy corporations in my fiction. Because, of course, we like to hate on the corporations and the governments in the real world, and they make really good villains. And in this show, you've got 2 or 3 really good corporate / government organization villains that are always trying to do surreptitious stuff and steal things and screw people over. So that's got a really fun element in it that you don't really get much of in Star Trek and other fiction. So I really like that about Babylon 5. And they also have...
So it's much...
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So you would say it's took a much more of the galactic technocracy route, in a sense?
Not necessarily. No, it's still sort of like Star Trek, because you've got a lot of species are concerned about quote unquote the greater good and all of that kind of talk. You've got species that want to get along with others for trade and for security and that kind of thing. So it's not just about technocratic jockeying for power, even though that is part of it. But I really liked it because it felt like a more achievable, more realistic version of sci-fi than Star Trek, where Star Trek is more idealized. This was more like what we would actually get involved with if there were technologically equivalent species that didn't view humans as something that was good to preserve or to make friends with. And I really like that. And there's also some now this comes up some in Star Trek as well, like really dangerous ancient species or really dangerous monsters and galactic entities that aren't even from our galaxy, that are from somewhere else, that pose real threats to everything. And I'm not going to spoil anything about the show, but it's a really great show. I've watched it several times. I love it. I can't recommend it enough. If you like good old-timey Star Trek, if you like Stargate, if you like Farscape, if you like Lex and Doctor Who and all the other science fiction shows, definitely give Babylon 5 a chance. Give it at least 2 seasons. If you don't like it by season 2, you're not going to like it, but definitely give it the first 2 seasons. It grows and really finds its legs like most TV shows towards the end of the first season, or series as they say in the UK. And I couldn't recommend it enough. It's really fun. So let's go check chat and see if anybody's saying anything. Let's see. We still got nobody going on over on Trovo and D-Live today. Nothing's going on there. And we have Sam Nope over on Entropy. Sam says, I haven't seen any Star Trek Beyond memes, so I don't have much to say, just listening. Well, thank you for being here today, Sam. I'm glad to have you around. Now let's check YouTube chat. Oh, we got Illuminatus over here. We got some more scrubbage happening in my chat. Even got Dr. Jimmy. We got Linda going on today. Hello, Linda. Good to see you guys here. And, of course, we've got the usual suspects in chat as well. Good to see everybody here today. Illuminatus, no spoilers. No spoilers. I'm just teasing.
We don't like spoilers here. Unless it's on race cars. Then spoilers are yes.
Then that's kind of mandatory, yeah.
Yeah, well, for the most part, yeah. Just looking through the thing, apparently it's got some interesting trivia regarding Babylon 5, actually.
Oh, do you want to look at some trivia? Because I can pull it up if you want.
Because apparently, according to this bit of trivia, the Star Furries were the first cinematic spacecraft to fly according to Newtonian principles in a vacuum, rather than maneuvering like aircraft in an atmosphere.
Oh, cool. Is it because they manipulated space-time or created their own fluid or whatever to move in? I don't know. What's it say?
I'm guessing it's referring to like how, if you think of other sci-fi stuff, how basically the spaceships fly as if they would within our Earth's atmosphere, rather than actually maneuvering how they would in an actual vacuum.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's cool. That's cool. That's neat. I like that. Well, Babylon 5, like I said, it has a more, now it's completely make-believe, but to me it has a more realistic feel than Star Trek, because it's not just poof, we have it, poof, we can get there, poof, we can teleport. It's more realistic when it comes to materials and how they have to move things and how combat happens, that kind of thing. So Babylon 5, I can't say enough about it. It's just really good. So we can move on to something else. Now, let's move on to something that the UKers might know, and that's Red Dwarf. Now, Red Dwarf is Go ahead.
So I was just going to say one I can actually somewhat talk about.
Yeah, Red Dwarf was really fun. I liked it a lot. It was about what was it? Deep space mining and asteroid collection or something? Like, what was the backdrop of the show? They were some kind of mining crew or something, weren't they?
Yes, basically, yeah. And they're just kind of minding their own business, going about their days for the most part.
And sort of like Voyager, they get
sucked into a time warp or a wormhole or something that it either puts them far ahead in the future or takes them to a different place in the galaxy or something. Do you remember?
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it, but there was one particular episode I did quite laugh at because of the subject in question.
Which episode was that? Because they're actually, what I was going to surprise you guys with is if you go to Daily Motion, look at this. All episodes of Red Dwarf are available on Daily Motion. Look at that.
Yeah, Daily Motion is quite good. Yeah, Daily Motion, you can find episodes for certain shows, which is why I did like going to that site before it got royally cucked.
I don't know if Daily Motion still has them hosted or not, but at least they still have the space holders for them here. So, you can click them and go to them, and Daily Motion will load them. So now, sometimes with Daily Motion videos, when I go to look at one, it says it's not available. I don't know if that means it's been taken down for good or not, but
quite often it's due to a region block. I have found. I have noticed quite a few.
This is I've got a video up. This is what you can expect from Red Dwarf. It's kind of hokey and cheesy, and the visual effects aren't that great, but they have some really beautiful model work, and they put a lot of effort into the costuming. And I just really like it. It's funny, it's playful, it's just a good time.
And also, part of the reason I got into it is because it hosts Craig Charles, who was the main host of UK Robot Wars back in the day.
Oh, that's cool. I like Robot Wars is a lot of fun. We watched some of those in the Cabal recently with Wes, and Wes was the guy that was supposed to be on today.
Yeah, well, I wish I was there talking about Robot Wars because, my God, I would perhaps spend about like an hour ranting on the final of season 6 or series 6, the grand final. I still to this day, many fans are still ranting about that final. And for those of you who don't know, look it up on YouTube. It is on YouTube. Look it up, and you'll see the controversy.
Cool. We might do that one day. We might have a Robot Wars episode. I see Ringo Brody in chat. Ringo Brody says, I've been watching Deep Space Nine with my brother, and it's insane how smart the writers got. There's an episode mentioning how the Ferengi committed way less atrocities than humans because it isn't profitable. Yeah, I remember that. It was pretty cool. The writers of Star Trek in general have been pretty smart and said a lot of smart things over the years. Dog of War says he watched all of Red Dwarf too, but British humor is hit and miss with him. Yeah, it's, again, like I said at the first of the show today, these shows that I'm talking about today, even if I love them, don't think that I mean that they're perfect shows or they're above criticism, because most TV shows, they get things wrong, they have stupid jokes, or they have bad writing, but you either like sci-fi or you don't generally, and I really love sci-fi. It's my favorite fictional trope, or genre rather, not trope. And I really love Red Dwarf. Like I said, it's hokey, it's cute, it's fun, and especially if you like British comedy, it's really good. But go ahead, Kizza.
Yeah. I mean, not just that, but the episode in particular, which I did find really funny regarding Red Dwarf, I forget what it's called, but for those who've watched it, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's this one episode where they find that the planet is completely misaligned with the rest of its solar system, and they have to find a way to put the planet back to where it was. And the main character, who Craig Charles plays, I forget his name of the character, he comes up with this brilliant idea of, let's use either another planet or his spaceship as a snooker ball, or as a white ball in the game of pool or snooker, to knock it into place.
That's fun. Hi, Birdie. We got Birdie with us today here. Hi, Birdie Bassett. Oh, we got Charlie Sparkles with us today too. Hey, Charlie. Hey, Machiavelli. Sucks to go. Good to see you here too.
Yeah. So I was just watching. I just laughed at that episode because he's quite literally using pool as an to do something like this, and I'm just like, good thing this is sci-fi, because making two planets come together like that would not happen. But it's just quite funny, the idea of and he's also like, wait, but based on this angle, you cannot do it. It's very simple. You just need to spin the ball like counterclockwise, very high speed for it to generate the extra angle.
You got to put the English on. Isn't that what they call it in pool when you do the spin trick, or you do spin to counter spin? You call putting the English on the ball.
Well, we don't quite call that. I mean, because if you hit it from the bar and it's no screw back, if you hit it at the top, it's top spin. Each side is normally the swerve, or if you're going at an angle.
Maybe it's just an American thing, but I thought,
I guess in modern times.
Yeah, I thought that at least in America, when you're going to put a lot of spin on something. You say putting the English on it. I don't really know where that phrase comes from. It could even be insulting back in the day. I don't know. But regardless, let's move away from Red Dwarf and talk about something else here.
These days, I was just going to say, I would say it's now put. I'm just going to put the CNN on it. Am I still here? Hello?
Completely. Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know.
Was I lagging there?
You've been lagging and cutting in and out all day. I think you might have some latency because that might be why you talk over me so much. Normally, you don't seem to have that problem, so it could just be latency day. And keep in mind, my internet is always spotty. I've got hillbilly internet, like I say a lot. So since we are getting ready to jump away from Red Dwarf here, we're going to go ahead and put the shill links in the old chat again here. If you would like to support my work and what I do, you can do so with Entropy, Cash App, and PayPal. And if you so desire to support me monthly, you can do that as well over on the old Subscribe Star. I've got all the links. You can give me the dollary dues however you see fit. And I do appreciate all the dollary dues you give me, especially since it's hard to find real work out here in the middle of nowhere. All right. So moving on away from the old Red Dwarf, the next thing we're going to talk about is Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica is an old show that came out in 78, and I think Battlestar Galactica is excellent. Now, the original is what I'm talking about. Battlestar Galactica I have seen all of at least once, and I rewatched several episodes of it again about 10 years ago when the remake of it, the reboot that came on Sci-Fi got really popular. I rewatched a lot of the episodes of the original, and it holds up. It is quite good. The acting is good. The set work is great. The special effects are wonderful for late 70s, early 80s, and I can't recommend this enough. The reason they stopped making it is because it cost a shit zillion dollars to make. Even back in the 70s, it cost about $1 million US per episode to make. So it was extremely expensive to make. And the television executives were like, even though this is popular, this is a money pit. We're not going to keep doing this. So that was that. So have you seen any of the original Battlestar Galactica, Kizza? Have you seen any of it?
I have not. I only knew about. I remember catching some episodes on the reboot because I heard some people from school talking about it, and I'm like, actually, this looks quite cool. Like I watched a few episodes, and then it just kind of fell off my radar.
It is quite good. It is action packed. It's got good, likable characters. It's got men who are men and women who are women, and it has them working together to solve problems. It is a good American science fiction program, and I highly recommend people watching it. So, that being said, let's see if anybody have things to say about it. Yeah, Alabaster brings up Buck Rogers. That's not one that I was going to feature today because I personally have never watched Buck Rogers, so I don't know about it, but I am aware of it. I mean, so I don't know particulars about it. I am aware of it, of course. Now, let's see. Crominion says OG Battlestar was really good. Dog of War says never watched original Battlestar, but the remake was decent. The ending of the remake annoyed me in a lot of ways, but it was okay. We actually are going to talk about that next. So what we're going to do now is we're going to segue into the new Battlestar Galactica. Now, I don't particularly like this one. This one is well made. It has wonderful effects. It has wonderful acting. It has just an entire treasure trove of quality television and movie actors. The acting is great. The thing that I don't like about this show was the pacing and the writing. The writing mostly because I hated the story. For those of you that don't know a lot about Hollywood and syndicated media for entertainment back in the late 90s and early aughts, things like the Rome television show, Sopranos, and Deadwood were really big HBO shows. Coming off of Showtime's Stargate SG-1, which we will talk about shortly, there was this idea that the way you make a good show was you take a setting and you create a bunch of characters that people can personally relate to, and then the entire show is about their lives and their problems and them having drama in the setting. Now, on the surface, that's a good thing. Like, for example, I liked both seasons of Rome. I liked all 6 or 7 seasons of, what are other good examples? 6 Feet Under, The Wire, Deadwood,
I didn't like the third season of Deadwood, but that's a different conversation. The shows that followed that format were very successful and in general very good, because you basically write them like a movie, but you make it a show and you give it 10 to 15 episodes a season. And it's basically all about character drama, character interactions. The best modern example of that is Game of Thrones. And I don't really care for Game of Thrones, but that's also a different conversation. But Battlestar Galactica, in my opinion, the new one, suffered because the creators wanted to follow that format. And it is not the correct setting or the correct show for that format. Now, if you like that format, mazel tov. More power to you. You probably really like Battlestar Galactica. But to me, the show should have been about combat, survival, and it should have been like a mix of the original Battlestar Galactica and what was good about Star Trek in having to make moral decisions when it was really tough and there was no good, easy answer. And that's what the show should have been about. It should have been about the narrative, the survival, the conflict, the combat, and the eventual resolution between the humans and the Cylons. And the show is not that. It is awful. Now, that's my opinion, of course. You don't have to agree with me. But my opinion is it fucking sucked. And I hated that I wasted so many hours watching it. And the reason why I hated watching it was the pilot, the first 2 episodes of it, it really pulled me in. I was like, holy shit, this is going to be an amazing reboot. Look at all of this shit that happened. Look how much ground they covered. They covered this and this and this, and Earth fell, and there's a conflict and a battle, and they've met Cylons, and oh my god, there are skin jobs. This is amazing. Like this, I thought that the show was going to be amazing, but then it was like every other fucking show with a big budget, and it was nothing but just hour after hour of slow-moving, dull character drama and character interactions and people trying to screw each other over. And there was just a little peppering of a good science fiction plot here and there just to pay lip service to science fiction. And I hated that. I watched every bit of it, and I watched the 3rd and 4th season of it twice just to try to make sure I understood the cockamamie, retarded plot with the whole divinely inspired god Cylons and this other stupid horse shit. I hated it. I was so mad at this show, I wanted to throw it in the toilet and flush it. Like I didn't like it. And now, I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with me. That's okay. This is completely my opinion, and I don't have a criticism for the show outside of what I liked about it and how I hated the direction that they took with it. So that's why I prefaced it with the good things. Excellent acting, excellent budget. The writers for what they had were good. I just didn't like what they had, and I thought that I think that they chose the wrong writers and they had the wrong directory to make the show great. So that's my opinion. So now, Kizza, I know that I talked a whole bunch here because I had a whole lot to say about this show. So let's hear you throw in a little bit on this.
Honestly, I watched like a few episodes of the reboot. Obviously, like you said, they're like the pilot and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, they're going pretty big to start with. And then afterwards, it just became a very filler like dreariness. I'm just like, oh, screw this. I'm done.
Yeah, it's sadly, like look at this great cast they have. Look at this. You got Edward James Olmos. He's excellent. You got the guy, the half man, half woman that plays the new Starbuck. Yeah, she's really good. You've got this awesome guy. I think he's English. He might be something else, but he speaks with a British accent, I think. And he plays a good sort of skeevy, scared tech guy. You've got this beautiful, tall, blonde lady. She's really good. It's chock full of really good actors and really well-designed characters. I just don't like what they do with the characters. I really didn't like that. And I don't like this show, and I hate spoilers, so I'm not going to spoil it. But the entire plot from beginning to end with who the Cylons are and what they are really bugs me, and I don't like what they did with it. So that's just take it or leave it. That's how I feel about the new Battlestar. So, well, let's check chat and see what people are saying, because I probably pissed some people off with my my scathing diatribe about the show.
Yeah, I mean, I just gave a Dog Award the link to the Robot Wars YouTube channel. The one when it was on BBC. It's got everything on there.
Well, speaking of
Except
Robot
season 7,
Wars,
which moved to
we have
25.
Sam saying something over on Entropy here. Sam says Robot Wars and Scrap Heap Challenge are two shows that he does remember. He takes it that Kizzo's Team Razor. I remember Razor. Razor's fantastic. Sam Nope also says the U.S. had BattleBots. Yes, they did.
Yes, I am.
And I haven't seen any episodes of it. BattleBots is okay. In my opinion, the British Robot Wars is better. I think it's better. They're both fun. I watched a lot of both of them. I do think that the British one's better.
I would say this, though. When it comes to BattleBots, Jesus Christ, you guys love your big fat spinners. My God. Like,
Yeah.
at least half the
There was a
robots
lot
I
of
remember
that.
seeing in BattleBots were just giant 20-kilo flywheel things. And I remember one episode where I think one of them had like a 20-kilo flywheel spinning back outside the arena, and they had like 20-foot polycarbonate like shields all around the arena. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, if that actually flipped it up, that would have been a major lawsuit in America.
Yeah. We have some chat here in
watching,
YouTube chat I want to get to. And I have now deduced why we talk over each other. Kizza, you have a full 2 to 3 second latency delay.
What's up?
Are you listening on YouTube and not in the stream host?
Oh, no. I got the YouTube link completely muted.
Okay, well then whatever is going on with your internet,
sure.
You have about a 3 second latency, so that's really unfortunate today. So I'm going to go back to talking about YouTube chat because there's a lot of things I want to cover in YouTube chat that people are saying here. Bertie Bassett, a friend of mine who is a moderator of the channel, says that he quite liked the Battlestar remake, and he can't remember much about the original. Again, there's a lot to like in the Battlestar reboot, and if you like it, that's great. I'm glad you like it. I just don't. Dr. Jimmy says that he loved Battlestar and the remake. That's great. Let's see here. We've also got European Housewife liked it too. So we have a lot of people who liked it. That's good. And again, it is a format that people like. And if you like that format and you don't want it to be something that it isn't, then I'm sure you enjoyed it. Let's see. We have somebody here said something. Oh, God. Chat jumped again. I have to go find it. I hate it how YouTube does that sometimes. Chat will just jump and you lose where you were. Here we go. James, Hoyt James, good to see you, friend. James says that he realizes that the 90s were boss for sci-fi. And I agree. It seems like pretty much the best sci-fi comes from the 90s, in my opinion. All right. Moving down the chat here, we've got Machiavelli Sucks to Go saying he liked the Rockford Files. I never watched the Rockford. I probably should, but I never watched them. I am aware of them, but I never watched them. James also said he wasted many hours on Breaking Bad. Yeah, I feel you. I watched it too, and I wish I hadn't. It was a waste of time. Just like with the show Lost. If you've never watched Lost, don't. It is a complete and utter waste of time to get very little out of it. That's just, again, my opinion. My opinion. Last but not least, before we move on to something else, Not That Guy says D&D stream when? Well, I have not done an official Dungeons & Dragons stream, even though those of you that are my most loyal of Yizraelites and have listened to me talk in the long ago, you know that I love Dungeons & Dragons and other role-playing games, and that is my primary hobby. That is my greatest art form, is storytelling. I am an excellent storyteller when it comes to creative role-playing. So perhaps we will do something involving role-playing or Dungeons & Dragons one day on my stream. But in general, I don't have time for that anymore, especially since the West has problems and I'm trying to help. I generally don't have time for that stuff anymore. But maybe one day. So, before we move on, Kiz, was there anything you wanted to say before we move to the next thing?
I was just going to say, would you be okay if I just disconnect and reconnect on Restream to see if that
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah,
we'll see if that helps.
Right. I'll be right back, everyone.
All right. So, we're going to wait for Kizza to come back in before we move on. We're going to see if the latency is on his end or if it's my hillbilly internet. It could just be my hillbilly internet because God knows I've got internet problems here sometimes. All right, we've got Kizza back now. We're going to add him in.
Okay.
Welcome back, Kizza.
Okay, hopefully I sound a little better. And it's like the two swords.
All right. Tell me when you hear this. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we seem to be a little better synced up now. All right.
Okay, sure thing, yeah.
Well, regardless, it could just be my internet, like I said. So we're gonna have to do the best we can until I actually get to get a proper house with my husband, and we'll get real internet then. But until then, we gotta deal with what we got out here in the middle of nowhere.
I know the feeling, like, because I'm on wireless at the moment with my current providers, who are okay, but sadly, where I used to live, I used to have the best internet in terms of my city, directly wired straight in my room. So sad times.
All right. Well, moving on from Battlestar, we're going to look at Doctor Who. Now, for those of you that don't know, there is a lot of Doctor Who. And I'm not going to talk about the new Doctor Who yet, because I mostly hate it. So we're going to talk about proper Doctor Who. We are going to talk about the 60s to the 80s Doctor Who. Now, I know we got a lot of Brits in here. Who remembers Doctor Who from when you were young? Anybody? I know I certainly do, being Gen X. Who here loves the old Doctor Who, as hokey and as weird as it is? Who remembers and loves the old Doctor Who? Kizza, do you?
Not the original, no. I did watch some of it with the reboot with
Kizza, you have to stop. Something is horribly wrong with your microphone. It is garbage. You have to plug it and replug it in. You have a terrible connection. Hopefully he'll get that sorted out. I hate this technical crap. Come on. Sort it out. Try it again. All right. He's unplugged and he's going to plug back in. So what I like about the original Doctor Who is it had almost farcical setup and payoff, which I found infinitely enjoyable. All right, Kiz is back. Let's try it again. Okay, what do you sound like now, Kiz? Let's try you again.
Hopefully I sound much better.
Much better. Sorry. Good. Now, go back and say what you were going to say about Doctor Who now that there's not awful ear problems.
I do apologize to everyone there. What I was going to say is I did catch the first reboot with Christopher Ecclestone, I believe his name is. I might said somebody else. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did watch it. I did quite enjoy it a bit, and then, if memory serves, he was replaced by David Tennant. If he was next in the line, or might be somebody else.
Yep.
And I remember catching a few episodes.
It was Tennant was next after that.
Yeah, but then obviously I just completely forgot about it, and obviously I'm fully aware of the quote unquote current season of how regressively woke it's become. It's basically taken a giant defecation on the entire franchise.
Now that's the newer stuff. I'm talking about the 60s to the 80s stuff. Do you have any familiarity with that at all?
Not at all. And just Crow, I'm actually quite honoured that I do. If I'm sounding like a bit like Michael Caine,
he does, and I've actually told him that before. All right, I have good news. We are going to have a 3 of 12 come on to talk sci-fi with us. So he will be jumping on here in a moment. Hopefully he will have good audio. 3 of 12 was one of the ones that was supposed to be on today. So he will be hopping on here shortly, and we'll be able to talk to him about stuff. So we're going to put a pin in old Doctor Who here for a moment, and assuming that 3 is going to come on like he said he would. So we will find out if he's coming on or not. I'm going to put a pin in old Doctor Who for now, and since you don't have any experience with it, and 3 is also rather young, we are going to go ahead and transition over to new Doctor Who. Now, new Doctor Who started in the aughts, I believe, around 2005. Here it is. Now, I saw the first, I think, 6 seasons of this because I was really interested in what modern technology and the modern take of Doctor Who would be. For the most part, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was let down. Even the first couple of seasons, which in my opinion are probably the best, outside of a couple of the seasons with oh God, what was his name? You just said it a minute ago. Tennant, was it? Yeah, David Tennant was the one that carried the show through several seasons. I thought that David Tennant was okay, and I liked the guy that came before him. What was his name again, Kissa? I can't remember it either.
Christopher Ecclestone.
That's right. Now, I liked him better, just personally, but I thought that the content of the show was better when they had Tennant, but I couldn't really get into it. I don't know what it was. I can't really put my finger on it, but
it felt like that it didn't land with me. I just nothing about it really gripped me and made me enjoy it. So I can't really put a finger on why exactly, but I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be because, if memory serves, David Tennant's Doctor Who, it got quite comedic. It was quite like cheesy comedy.
Yeah, but Doctor Who was always that though. It was always kind of hokey and cheesy.
Well, to be fair, when Ecclestone came in, it wasn't very. It didn't have really much of like of a cheesy element. Like it was quite serious of in terms of like how it went about. If memory serves.
Okay. Hey, we have a
So,
3 of 12 with us. Hello, 3. How are you today?
Hey, how you doing?
We're doing just fine. Do you want to talk about what you had to share with me about West Live, or do you want to do that privately later?
Oh no, I'd like to speak on that privately.
Sure, no problem. All right. Today, since we missed out with Wes, I thought we would just have a general discussion about science fiction shows that I have seen and that I liked or had something to say about. Now, you've already missed the first hour, which is where we talked about Star Trek, and that's too bad. And we also talked a little bit about Babylon 5 and Battlestar Galactica, and we just started talking about Doctor Who. Do you have any experience with Doctor Who? Do you like it at all?
I have some experience with Doctor Who. I do quite like the David Tennant stuff.
Yeah, of all of the new Who, I thought that as a show, it shone the most during the David Tennant episode. And however, I liked the guy that came before him best. He was my favorite Doctor Who, probably my favorite Doctor Who ever. I really like that guy.
Eccleston.
But go ahead, I'm listening.
Yes, I believe his name was David Eccleston.
Yeah, yeah. Kizza mentioned that earlier, but I that name doesn't stick in my brain for some reason. I'm bad about names.
Yeah, and also his episodes don't actually end up on air very often, and there appear to be some theories on that like the network doesn't seem to like him, so they don't air his stuff.
Huh? Maybe it's because he's too manly for the UK.
It's actually very possibly one of the reasons that they didn't like his politics. He's just too manly.
Oh, we lost Kizza. Maybe it is Kizza's internet's the problem today, because I've noticed it being spotty on and off.
Maybe
But when it comes to old Doctor Who, have you seen any of the old 60s to 80s Doctor Who series? Have you seen any of those?
No.
They're hokey and fun. I like them. If you like jokey sci-fi like Red Dwarf, have you seen any of Red Dwarf?
Yeah, I have. I guess I'm sure I'd like it if I gave it some time. Then again, I don't really have that kind of time anymore.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah.
Too busy either doing college work, personal projects, or actually doing research for these kind of streams.
Yeah. Well, we have Kizza back. He said that his VPN was on. That could have been causing him problems. Welcome back. Hey, Lomax. Okay. Good to see you, friend. Good to see Lomax here.
Hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you just fine, Kizza.
You're doing fine.
Let's get love for Lomax in the chat. Let's get a big L for Lomax, because he has been doing excellent work in my Discord server, posting play-by-play about the Derek Chauvin trial going on in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So he's been doing a great job giving us updates all day long, every day on that, and we do appreciate that, Lomax. Thank you very much, friend. So when it comes to Doctor Who, do either of you have anything that you'd like to say or talk about? Because I pretty much have very little to say other than what I've already said.
Well, I mean, I have some feelings on some of the new Who Doctors, but they're not very strong. Matt Smith, to me, I immediately hated him when he was new, and it literally took a long time for me to take any liking to him.
And is that the current one? Because I stopped watching a long time ago.
No, that was the one after David Tennant.
So there's another one after him. Oh wait, that's right. They did a woman, didn't they?
They've done a few since him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you had David Tennant, Matt Smith, who I think got the role because he could pull it, because he was quote unquote more eye candy for the female viewers. Then I'm trying to think, was it the really old bloke? I forget his name. Okay, then it was the oldest chap, where they started becoming quite woke, and then you had the woman where it went full on woke. Yeah,
and even then, at first he was good, the old bloke.
Yeah, Yeah, he was. If I forget the name of the actor, but if anyone, I forget the movie he's in, but he has a very foul mouth, and he's swearing at everyone. I forget the show, but he has some hilarious insults.
It's been in some high school movies, yes.
Yeah, I
Are
forget
you talking
which.
about? Are you talking about the old guy that was in the Guy Ritchie movies?
I don't think he was in the Guy Ritchie movie, but
because they had a great guy that's a good character actor that was in a lot of Guy Ritchie movies. He was Bricktop and Snatch and other ones.
No, not him. No. It's not Bricktop.
He's great though. He's really good.
Yes, I do love Bricktop, but that's for another topic. That's for another stream.
Yeah, that's a different topic altogether.
Yeah, but I forget the guy's name. But one of his funniest insults I do remember from a show he did. I think it's with his wife. He's bashing the crap out of like a phone. He's been told it's an inanimate object. And then he responds with I believe his wife, "You're an inanimate object." Just so coldly. I think it's. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube so I know who I'm talking about.
I found the actor name, Peter Capaldi, which is
that's the guy's name.
Capaldi.
Yes.
Yeah, could you post that in the chat, YouTube chat, in private chat?
Sure.
Yeah.
The Alabastard in chat says that Capaldi had the chance to be a very dark version of the Doctor, but the series went woke instead and ruined any chance of that.
He was dark for a bit.
Yeah,
I mean, he took the quite opposite sort of personality setup to Matt Smith. You know, old soul, very arrogant and condescending, disrespectful, just very not fun to be around. But I kind of like it. It's very based.
Cool. Speaking of things that are British that I like, British comedy. I think Faulty Towers and The Young Ones are the best British comedy. Opinion, Kizza?
They're definitely classics. I mean, I will just say this right now for everyone in the chat: don't mention the war.
All right, well, let's move away from comedy and get back to science fiction. Yeah. Unless you two have anything else to say about the Doctor, we're going to move on to something else here. You fine to move on?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, fine. Move on.
We're going to talk about Stargate, because Stargate is my second favorite science fiction. It is tied with the one we're going to talk about next. But Stargate originally is a movie, and then they created a Showtime show, a high-budget show about Stargate, and I thought it was some of the best science fiction I had ever seen. It was, of course, it had problems like all TV shows have. We've been over that today already, about how shows they have filler episodes and sometimes the acting's funny or whatever. But in general, I love Stargate. I like the writing, I like the character development, I like the problems they face, I like the bad guys that come up. I like everything about this show. Have you guys seen Stargate SG-1 or Atlantis, or both?
Yes, I've seen some of both. Not as I haven't actually sat down and watched it as a series, but I watched it casually when I was young. It was on
was it Channel 4 or Channel 5? I forget you're American.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be over there, but here it started on Showtime, and then I don't remember where it went after that.
Yeah, I think in the UK, if memory serves, I think I caught a few episodes. I believe it was on Channel 5 at the time. It used to be on the weekends. I do remember one episode. Hopefully, I'm not mistaken it for another show, so please forgive me, chat. I think it's like a couple who are stuck on this desert world, and the portal gates that they go, teleport through, it malfunctions, so they can't leave.
That sounds like the right show, and they did kind of do a lot of individual filler episodes where they would introduce a sort of some guest characters and make the plot around them, sort of it's very Star Trek-like in that way. I remember lots of episodes that were just sort of random like that, and also there are many, many, many cameo appearances from all sorts of different sci-fi alumni.
Oh yeah, like Star Trek, Farscape, etc. There were a lot of people in Stargate that were on other sci-fi. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. The thing I liked most about Stargate was I like role-playing games. I like Dungeons and Dragons. I like science fiction role-playing. I like Battletech Mech Warrior. I like World of Darkness. I like role-playing games. And a big element in role-playing games is there's a dungeon that's scary, or there's an enchanted forest that we don't know what's in it. We got to go figure out what's in it. Or the princess is sick. You have to go get the magical MacGuffin from the old evil wizard's tower. And Stargate was almost that formula, but in a serial TV show about science fiction stuff. And I really liked the format, and I liked the way that it played out each season. It was just really fun. It was, hey, we have to network these Stargates together. We got to figure out how to do this. We have to do A, B, C, D, and E to try to figure out how to make this villain not a villain, or how to get the technology we need that'll trump this technology that this bad guy has, or whatever. So it just, I really liked Stargate a lot, and even though it was a little bit different of a show, actually it was a lot different in format of a show, I also liked Atlantis. I thought it was fun. The acting was a little worse, the writing was a little worse, but I still, for the most part, really enjoyed it, and I thought Atlantis was pretty fun. What do you think about Atlantis? Did you like it at all?
Well, it came along with how I watched Stargate. See, I never really sat down and like watched it as like a proper series, like I treat Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Never gotten around to it, but it was always on around lunchtime on Sundays. Since I live in the specific area, it would show up on Fox, and I would watch it then on a very old TV. So there's a lot of details that are really fuzzy, as was the reception time. But
Cool.
I did like Atlantis. I noticed that there were some different characters. I don't remember grasping a lot of aspects of the plot, but again, the filler episodes were really fun. And I did notice that, Jesus, his name. There was a cameo from Star Trek Enterprise alumni, and one of them, the guy who was the chief engineer.
Oh, okay.
Rip, he actually was one of those vampire things.
The Wraiths, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that he starts from being like a good guy and slowly becomes more gray.
Yeah. I see Dog of War says, woohoo, Battletech. Battletech is probably my single favorite role-playing setting. I love it. I love everything about it. I don't read fiction novels, so I haven't read the 1,000 Mech Warrior novels, but I own pretty much every box set, technical readout, splat book, clan book, mercenary book that there is. I have like $1,000 worth of Battletech stuff as far as books and box sets and maps. The Battletech Mech Warrior setting is my favorite. Well, when it comes to role-playing books and box sets and maps, I've got stuff going back to the early 80s, even some books from the 70s. I have like 30 grand worth of role-playing stuff. That's like my treasure trove of material. So even though I got rid of a lot of the stuff that were Wizards of the Coast D&D books because they were garbage, I bought most of them in the aughts just to see what it was like. But I eventually traded most of them away or gave them away. But anyway, regardless, that's a talk for a different time. Yay, Battletech. It's always nice to see another Battletech fan out there. We also, I had a tab open for Atlantis, but we already covered that, so we're just going to skip that. Now, the thing I'd like to talk, there are two things left that I have to talk about. So 3, unless you want to talk more about Stargate, we're going to move to something that I'm pretty sure you will like. You have anything else to talk about with Stargate?
No, I'm good. It's definitely something I need to just sit down and watch. I'm glad you actually reminded me of that, because I guess I can watch it on Netflix or something, right?
I don't know. I don't do Netflix. But the next thing we're going to talk about is Farscape. Farscape is tied with SG-1 for my favorite science fiction show after Babylon 5. I really love Farscape. Farscape is cool. It's got a nice kind of a jock Chad dude as the lead character. It's got a badass warrior chick who's still a woman as another character. It has this weird spiritual alien lady, and they also meet very non-human aliens, and it's a really fun show. It's got action, it's got drama, maybe a little romance, not much. It's got comedy. It's a really fun show. I just really, really like it. And have you guys seen Farscape?
I have not.
It was on TV sometimes right after Stargate. I only got to watch a little bit of it. I just, by then I was usually like done with whatever I was eating, and I had to move on. But I liked. I mean, I love. I've paid more attention to it in recent years. What just happened? Oh, okay. I've paid more attention to it in recent years.
Okay. Then we're going to check chat here for a second. James asks if I've ever played Magic the Gathering. I played back when beta was out, right when they started Unlimited. I played it between like 93 and 96. It wasn't really for me. I don't really care for that, so I was never a big Magic the Gathering person. Let's see.
That old?
Jesus.
Magic the Gathering came out, I think, in 89 and 90. I think it started in California. That's where Wizards of the Coast started. And it didn't get popularized and travel across the country until later in the 90s. I think 92, 93 is when it picked up. And I didn't get started with it until 93 or 94 when Unlimited was the set that was just coming out when I got started. So, we had... When I first started playing, the cards had black borders. And that was called beta. And then they went to white borders with Unlimited. And I remember that change when I started playing because some of the packs were still black borders, some weren't. But anyway, that's ages ago. Doesn't matter now.
I was just going to make a joke, but it was too much.
Okay. Let's see what we got. Dog of War says that he used to have a lot of BattleTech stuff. He even managed to purchase several $100 of metal miniatures. I never got into the minis because to me, I didn't want to give the time and the money investment into collecting and painting mechs because every time that we would field mechs, there would be vehicles, there would be battle armor, there would be infantry. And it just seemed like thousands of dollars of money and time investment. And instead, we just used little cardboard cutouts or tokens. Anyway, let's see what else we have. We've got... oh, damn it. Chat jumped again. I hate it when it does that. Now I've got to scroll back up. All right. Alabaster laughs at Yizz's Dragon Horde. Yeah, that's my horde is all of my old role-playing stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got Muppets in Space. Yes, that's a fair assessment of Farscape. It's Muppets in Space. That's true. Yeah. Dog of War says Farscape was solid, indeed. And let's see. Oh, before we do more YouTube chat, let's go check Entropy because I saw some stuff over on Entropy. Let's see. Over on the question widget, Western Resonance says, don't forget Space 99 and Buck Rogers. I didn't forget them. I just never watched them, so I didn't put them in the lineup. Let's see. Okay. We have Josh saying he's excited because his D&D group has been playing campaign for over a year. That's excellent. Most groups don't hold together very long. And let's see. Kiz is answering some questions over there. And Joshua says, the Warhammer 40k universe is amazing. I love dark gothic setting. I just hate Games Workshop. I have never liked Games Workshop, but I do like the basic building blocks of the 40k setting. And I've done a lot of pen and paper role-playing in the 40k setting. So it's a good setting to role-play in as well. Just not my favorite, but I do like it. So moving back to YouTube, let's see. Thank you, Birdie, for posting stuff. I do appreciate that. All right, we're going to move away. And wait, the Farscape boxed set. I didn't know that they made gaming stuff for Farscape. I guess in the D20 era, they did a lot of stuff, but that's weird it has a box set. Oh, wait, maybe he means DVDs. Western Resonance, do you mean a box set of DVDs or VHS tapes? Is that what you mean? Because when I hear box set, my mind goes to role-playing game box sets with books and maps and stuff.
That's a good separation of terms there.
Yeah. Regardless. We are going to talk to 3 of 12, because I know he has some stuff to say about this. Go ahead, 3 of 12.
Well, I mean, I did watch a YouTube documentary that was explaining lots of obscure sci-fi in order to get people sort of primed for watching it. And what I liked about Farscape is that, one, it had some of the highest quality, like I said, animatronics and puppets and stuff.
Definitely.
And they said that the character building plot was absolutely fantastic. Although the show kind of got cut off before it got really... I mean, it managed to build the characters and then not do very much else. So I think it got canceled after the first season.
Yeah, Farscape didn't last long. I think it had 2 seasons, but I don't remember exactly because when I watch stuff, it's just from torrents. I don't own the DVDs or buy box sets or whatever. So
I don't really recall exactly how many seasons things have, other than Star Trek, which did it in blocks of 7, of course.
According to sorry to interrupt. According to IMDb, there was 4 seasons.
Oh,
yeah, I figured it had quite a few because there was like, I don't know, 30 or 40 episodes in the torrent, maybe even more than that. I don't remember, but I haven't watched it for a long time. But I do remember loving it, and it's one of my absolute favorites of all time. And here's a really good picture I found. This is a good wallpaper for Farscape. Here's the main characters. But regardless, anything else you guys want to say about Farscape before we move on?
I was just going to say. Sorry, Freddie, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the visuals look fantastic, and all I can say is I need alien mommy dummy GF.
Wait, what? Yeah. Say again? What?
Wait, what?
Need alien dom mommy GF.
Oh,
I'm not even going to.
You're talking about what's her name? The psionic, the sensate. What was her name? God, I can't remember. I'm bad at names. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm just memeing at this point.
Yeah, she was cool. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, I was just.
Go ahead, Kiz. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, with the point that 312 made about animatronics, do you think a lot of those people who worked on the show may have worked on the sequel series of Star Wars? Well, with the prequel.
I don't know.
Series?
Maybe.
Oh God, that's possible.
But the makeup effects and costuming and animatronics were fantastic for Farscape. It was excellent. Visually, it's one of the best sci-fi series. It's great.
I believe they had some Star Trek alumni.
Look at this dude here. Look at this guy. Look at all that cool work they put into his armor and all the stuff on him and how good his face makeup is. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. Just great. Well, we are going to move on to the last thing I had in the lineup to talk about. And warning, it is a bit degenerate. It is Lex. Who here has seen Lex? Anybody seen Lex?
I have not. But what's really funny is I know of a guy who we refer to as Lex on Xbox. I wonder if he's actually because of the show.
I watched a YouTube documentary from the same guy on it, and there's not much of it.
No, there's not, but it's really fun. It's got like maybe 40 or 50 episodes. I don't remember exactly, but it is really, really fun. It's funny. It's a little bit degenerate. It's sexualized in a lot of ways, but it's fun. It's got good back and forth in it. It's not as high budget as some of the better sci-fi, but Lex is fun. If you like this type of sci-fi we've talked about today, maybe give Lex a chance. It might not be for you, but I really liked it. I watched all of it. I thought it was really fun, but I haven't seen it since like maybe 2005, 2006, so I've forgotten a lot about it.
Maybe leave it that way because it for most people, the writing and stuff isn't really high quality. Or
no, it wasn't. It was just. But see, we've already talked about not high quality stuff on the stream today. You just missed it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's not consistent enough. You might come back to it and you'd think, "Why did I ever like this?"
I can do that with a few movies.
And I believe they replay the sort of plot ideas over and over again. That girl gets caught by enemy, protagonist shows up, saves her. She's hung up in some strange sexual bondage nest.
Yep.
over and over and over again.
So what you're saying is it's basically Save the Princess.
Yeah, it's Save the Princess, except she's already getting railed.
It's
shocking.
Like I said, it's a bit degenerate, but it's a fun show. And it's got some elements in it like Farscape. It's got some elements in it from Babylon 5. It's a fun show. So if you like this kind of hokey sci-fi, definitely give it a shot. So there's another series I was going to ask you about 3, and I forgot about it. It crossed my mind earlier. I'm trying to remember. Is there a series that you would like to talk about that comes to mind as a great science fiction television show that's been on in the last 30 years? I think I covered most of them today.
Jeez, I wasn't actually preparing for that sort of question.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We're going to look at some pictures from Lex here.
I need some time on that one. I might actually.
Here's some characters. As you can see, much lower budget than the other stuff that we looked at. But I mean, not counting Red Dwarf and shit, obviously. But here's the ship they were on. It's basically an alien cock and balls. I know it's not supposed to be, but that's what people joke and say. It's supposed to look like an insect head, but people joke and say it looks like cock and balls. Here's a better picture of it. There we go.
And I like the characters. They were fun. Had some pretty cool costumes, some pretty good ideas, but for the most part, not great, but I just really liked it. I remember thinking it was fun and funny, and it just, I don't know. I had a good time with it. So, I guess we're going to wrap up there. That's pretty much all that I had to share today about the, let's see, turn that off. That's all I had to share today about the different science fiction shows that I had seen over the years. We definitely are all influenced in science fiction by the legacy of Star Trek. Star Trek has quite the legacy, and I know that 3 of 12 would agree with me on that.
Mm.
So, since you missed the Star Trek discussion, is there anything in particular that stands out to you about a particular show that you liked the most, or anything you want to talk about overall about the shows themselves?
I mean, I was more prepared on some Star Trek minutia because I got some books together. I was really ready for this and everything, but I took a nap and then I blew my alarm away by hours because I've been absolutely...
Well, that's fine. Wes couldn't make it today anyway, so we'll talk about that another time, and we'll probably do a Star Trek focus stream with you and Wes another day. But we are going to go ahead and wrap things up by checking chat and seeing if people have made any donations today, and give them shout-outs if they have. So let's refresh Cash App and PayPal over here and see what we've got going on. All right, we still have nothing on Cash App, and let's go ahead.
Yeah, I've got one. Star Ocean. Star Ocean is absolutely fantastic. It's basically Japanese Star Trek. They take lots of concepts from it, and then obviously sort of they made a JRPG world out of it.
Is it a television show?
There's actually an anime.
Well, we're not talking about anime. This is television.
Yeah, well, the anime isn't super important because it just did the plot points of Star Ocean 2, really. So it's really not that important. It's more eye candy than anything.
Well, we'll talk about that on another stream.
Okay.
Let's see. Entropy is clear. D-Live is clear. Thank you for the 2 that watched over there today, and thank you for the little bit of chat that there was. And we have no viewers on Trovo today. And that's it. So now we're going to wrap up with YouTube chat. So let's see if there's anything I need to go over before we get out of here today. James, I don't know the show Space Precinct. It's new to me. If it was a UK show, I'm not as up to speed on UK shows as I am American shows. Let's see. And yes, I didn't want to talk about Firefly today. Firefly is good, but it's not really what I would call science fiction. It's more space cowboy, which is kind of its own genre. And even though technically it does fall under the sci-fi main category, it's kind of its own thing in American television because there's really nothing else like it. And space cowboy is kind of an anime trope, and it just didn't really fit with everything else. So I didn't include Firefly in the lineup. I do love it though. So for those of you that like Firefly out there, that's great. Do you guys like Firefly?
I haven't seen it myself, but I know a friend of mine. He is absolutely obsessed with Firefly.
Well, it's only got I think 13 seasons or something, but or 13 episodes rather. It only got one real season in a movie, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. He is that obsessed with it. He actually cosplays as the main character. That I forget the guy's name. The main actor, I forget his name.
That's Mal Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion. That's
it, Nathan Fillion. Yeah, and I actually do know someone who's actually met him in real life.
Cool. Well, we're going to get out of here today. Thank you guys for being here in chat. Thank you for being here to talk to us about science fiction and sharing in some good times. Be sure to tune in Monday night because the next Dragons of Discord, we are joined by a legend of YouTube. He has one of the biggest Sunday night streams, the Matt and Blonde Show. M.L. Christensen, Matt himself, will be on with us, helping us counsel some dragons Monday night for Dragons of Discord. So definitely tune in for that. It'll be a great time. Bill is going to be there too because he knows Matt. Bill's in the chat. His YouTube name is all-1. He will be there as well. And we will be joined, of course, by my co-host, 3 of 12, and Don the Pleb. So we've got an excellent lineup for this coming Monday night. So definitely be there to watch that. That'll be 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. British time. So thank you guys for being here today. I hope you all have a blessed weekend, and we will see you all next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
Take care, all.